When I was a child, probably 8 or 9 or so, I sat on the tailgate of my grandfather's pickup truck with some of my cousins who rode slowly over the fields as my grandfather roamed the acres. This was in Missouri, although my mother would shame me and say, "It's Missouri, Amy." So we were roaming the fields, some acreage in Missouri, with my grandfather. He owned a store. He was sharecropper raised. He owned a little store, but he needed to supplement with a farm, so he had cattle. So there we were, 4 children doing what we now know a very dangerous thing, right? We were seated on the back of a moving truck, our small legs dangling down so low that the grass would tickle our calves. We weren't riding on a road, however. It was only a path well worn by cattle over the years. There was one stomach-thrilling moment, I recall, when the truck was navigating bumps, dipped, and I saw a wildflower marvelously unfold before us. It literally sprang to life as the truck moved over it. I saw it flat on the ground, and then I saw it open up. It was a miracle, I thought. I saw the flower literally blossom before my eyes. What took days, I thought, happened right in front of me. I was so shocked and delighted. It was like a time-lapsed camera, whereby the blossom unfolded right there. I told my mother I saw a flower being born. It really happened. She said, "That's nice, dear. Now go clean up for dinner." I told her over and over with the dramatic conviction of a passionate child that had witnessed a flower being born. I did so for many years until, using an adult's rationale, I noticed as an adult, oh my gosh, the field grass that we were going over with the truck was so thick. It was a cushion for the truck tires, which did not crush any flowers. When it traveled over them, the tires glided over the wildflower I spotted, and the tender blossom bounced right back up. Nevertheless, I've used that mental imagery for years, especially on rough days. It is a visual metaphor for hope that is smashed and then rises again. For me, smashed hope for the future looms daily. I don't know about you. I'm concerned about the future. I'm troubled by what isn't being done by way of governance about gun reform laws, women's rights, including abortion laws. What isn't being done to address the climate crisis, and why protection for Black lives and trans lives continues to go unacknowledged. Mary Oliver's poem titled "The Morning Paper" just about sums it up for me. She wrote, "Read one newspaper daily. The morning edition is the best," she says, "for by evening you know that you have at least lived through another day. Let the disasters, the unbelievable yet approved decisions soak in. I don't need to name the countries, ours among them, what keeps us from falling down our faces to the ground, saying, 'Ashamed, ashamed.'" I want to yell, see what I mean? Mary Oliver, she got it. She knows how I'm feeling. I don't know why, but just having someone articulate a similar feeling is helpful to me. When I feel like I have been, figuratively speaking, smashed by a pickup truck full of political rhetoric, she helps me in my despair. Fine, you may be thinking. You like poetry by Mary Oliver. What does that have to do with a Sunday service? Poetry, especially social justice-oriented poetry, has been used in worship in worship services for eons, for many years. For example, Psalm 85:10 reads, "Mercy and truth have met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed." There has been a longing for mercy and righteousness for years throughout cultures. In our Unitarian Universal services, one may hear biblical scripture, but one will likely also hear poetry and words from contemporary writers, like Mary Oliver. You see, Unitarian Universalists embrace the idea that our faith lives and breathes currently, and that the holy, recognized by some as an other, and recognized by others in the human heart and how human actions make an impact, that those voices within and that might influence us in other ways, that's still breathing right now. It never died with the prophets of the past. Our faith is not dead, but alive. You'll see Singing the Journey and Singing the Living Tradition. You've heard Living Tradition. Unitarian Universalists continue to seek sources from which were among us, that may have died, that may be presently living among us. In other words, you've seen prophetic individuals, men and women perhaps, poets, and others of the present and the past still speak to us. For today, I chose to focus on Mary Oliver's poetry that are heavily theological. Heavily theological. Some may call it religious naturalism. Now, I know people bristle when you say religion or religious, but you know, the very foundational word, the very earliest form of religio means to bind, to keep us together, what connects us. Religious naturalism in our Unitarian Universal circles, in congregations I've served all over and come across, naturalism, this love of nature, is one thing no one will ever argue about. Maybe you're a naturalist. Maybe you understand religious naturalism. It's the idea that there are religious aspects of the world that go understood within a naturalistic framework. If ever one would be considered a specialist in this area, I might consider Mary Oliver to be the ultimate professor. I'm intrigued by the way she wrestles with the world and tries to put her experience into words. She seeks to answer questions related to how to exist, how to perceive mystery, how to love the earth and others, including dogs and people, and then shares her experience, which is so helpful, so meaningful, words escape me. Let's see, her work is so profound. Again, a selection within our hymnal, 696 reads, "To live in this world, you must do 3 things. To love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let go, to let it go." 696 in our hymnal. Krista Tippett interviewed Mary Oliver. It's on a podcast on being.org. Tippett said to Mary, "Words around the idea of God are insufficient, and yet most of your work has this theological element to it." Tippett wanted to know about Mary Oliver's spirituality. I secretly wanted her to say Unitarian Universalist. I never heard that. In response to Tippett's question, Mary Oliver, born in 1935 in a small town in Ohio, said she left her family's church when she was young because she could not handle the idea of the resurrection. And yet, she did have rituals. Mary said she began her day with a poem by the Sufi poet Rumi. Here is one of Rumi's pieces. "There is a way between voice and presence where information flows. In disciplined silence it opens, with wandering talk it closes." Mary Oliver commented, religion is helpful in people not thinking they themselves are sufficient. She went on to say, poetry is very old, very sacred, and it wishes and longs for community. It wishes for community. What is it that people say when they come through our doors? What is it they seek? What is it that keeps them coming to a UU congregation? I hear it over and over again. It is UU community, UU connection. I'm here for the community, the people, the relationships I have with others, people say. And Oliver points out that the best of religion and poetry is the realization that we need community, that we are better together than any one of us is on our own. Unitarian Universalists, it is said, love the questions more than the answers. When the poet was asked if she had the answers to life's toughest questions, she said, no, but I have some suggestions. One of her suggestions was to unplug and take walks, to get out in the world, to explore nature. This time of year is the perfect time to get out and take a walk. If walking is not very easy for you, simply go outside and sit. Mary Oliver's upbringing was tough. She left her house often, carried a pencil and a notebook to the woods, and as I stated earlier, there was one occasion when she couldn't find a pencil. So thereafter, she hid pencils in the branches of trees. Here's one of Mary Oliver's poems titled Foolishness. No, it's not. That's the title. Sometimes I spend all day trying to count the leaves on a single tree. To do this, I have to climb branch by branch and write down the numbers in a little book. So I suppose from their point of view, it's reasonable that my friends say, what foolishness? She's got her head in the clouds again. But it's not. Of course, I have to give up. But by then, I'm half crazy with the wonder and the awe of it. The abundance of leaves, the quietness of the branches, the hopelessness of my effort. And I am in a delicious and important place, roaring with laughter full of earth praise. Regarding her childhood, Mary explained she was absent from classes often. She said, I don't like buildings. When I was young, I felt no different. I don't like enclosed spaces, including classrooms. So I went to the woods with my books. Nevertheless, I had trouble with truancy when I was young. Mary Oliver, who died January 17th, 2019, also stated that she was saved by poetry. Here's the one she wrote titled When Death Comes. When death comes like a hungry bear in autumn. When death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse, to bury me and then snap the purse shut. When death comes like the mesopox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades. I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what's it going to be like, this cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular, and as each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending, as all music does, toward silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to this earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride, married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world in my arms. In that one poem, When Death Comes, she said just how I feel about my journey of faith, of spirituality. I don't want to just exist apathetically, and it's very easy to do because it's easy to get overwhelmed with the needs and the desperation in the world. I want to live, and in my living I want to thrive so that in the end I can say, it was a good trip, really. I want to be joyously amazed. Don't you? Yeah. Look, it doesn't matter how old we are. We can craft a life and a faith in the same way that Mary Oliver created poems. She wrote about quiet, melancholy moments, but she also wrote about frightening ones. Part of me says, forget this, but I'm like, this is too good. Anybody living in Florida needs to hear this poem. I'll tell you the title at the end. I knelt down at the edge of the water, and the white birds standing in the tops of the trees, if they whistled any warning, I didn't hear it. I didn't understand. I drank up to the very moment it came, crashing toward me, its tail flailing like a bundle of swords, slashing the grass, the inside of its cradle-shaped mouth gapping, the inside gapping, rimmed with teeth. And that's how I almost died of foolishness in Florida. But I didn't. I leaped aside. I leapt aside, and I almost died, but I fell. And it streamed, this rushing thing with a tail that went like this, went flying past me. It swept down the water, threw itself in, and in the end, this isn't a poem about foolishness, but about how I rose from the ground and saw the world as if for a second time, the way it really is. The water, that circle of shattered glass, healed itself with a slow whisper and lay back with the backlit light of polished steel, and the birds and the endless waterfalls of the trees shook open the snowy pleats of their wings and drifted away. While for a keepsake and to steady myself, I reached out. I picked the wildflowers from the grass around me, little blue stars and blood-red trumpets on long green stems, and for hours in my trembling hands they glittered like fire. That poem was titled Alligator Poem by Mary Oliver. It's lovely, right? It's about how she rose from the ground and saw the world as if for a second time. Right now, do you recall a moment when you saw the world for a second time? Maybe when you almost died? What helped you to rise from the ground? Like a wildflower after being run over by a pickup truck or trounced on by a predator, what gave you a second breath? I know many of us love the familiar, so I'm going to close with this one titled The Summer Day by Mary Oliver, but I'm going to add an element to it. I forgot to bring it up, and I asked Cheryl to go get it because I knew maybe there weren't a whole lot of people that knew what this is, but if you do, it's a rain stick. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving its jaw back and forth and up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life. The poetry I read to you is from New and Selected Poems by Beacon Press, Boston, Massachusetts. Copyright Mary Oliver in 1992. As you leave this service today and tomorrow morning when you lift your head from your pillow to meet a new week, I invite you to be generous. Be generous with your time to notice nature. Generous with your laughter, generous with your breath, with forgiveness and gratitude. Be generous with your voice. Finally, tell someone that you love the Unitarian Universalist community here in Clearwater, the place where even when out of frustration, occasionally we might open our cavernous jaws and show our teeth. We all do it. We will have patience with you. People will have patience with me when I'm cranky. May this place become for you one where your heart grows, your mind is challenged, and your hopes for a better world are nurtured. Blessed be. Shalom, peace to you. Ashe, which is a Yoruba word that means to pause, to say amen. Thank you.